So we were just, disgusting. I said disgusting. It was a Freudian slip. No. It's disgusting. We're discussing the disgusting tactics that some of these vendors have. I'm super impressed that you said that. I think that most dealers don't think that. And I think that's what's hurting them.
What is the paid search vendor going to say to said dealer? Well, all I can think about is we should spend more.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Network. And man, dealers, managers, we got a lot to talk about today. Okay, here's what I'm saying is right now, the tea leaves. I'm seeing the tea leaves, and one of the biggest challenges that I'm hearing from dealers is opportunities to do business. Okay, where should they invest their marketing dollars? That's one of the questions. What's the best lead? Is it internet leads? Is it digital marketing? Is it traditional marketing? Is traditional marketing dead? Hey, do we even need an advertising agency, especially with ChatGPT and all of these AI videos and all this other stuff going on? There's a lot to discuss of where and what, but deeper. The conversation goes deeper than that because I have a lot of dealers that are spending a tremendous amount of money, but they're overpaying. They're paying stupid tax. I'll give you an example. I've got a dealer group on the East Coast. They have multiple stores. The OEM has given them, in my opinion, bad advice. So they've got OEM compliant vendors that are not, in my opinion, good vendors. So they have no real ROI. Can you imagine spending $200 or almost $200 per lead? Not per sale, per lead. Well, that's what's happened to dealers, and they don't know what to do. And part of the problem, in my opinion, is that we had it so good with the pandemic and post-pandemic. I mean, if you think about it, if you had inventory, you're either selling cars like candy bars, you could either sell them at list or over list. And so you don't really have to be granular. You don't really have to pay attention because if you're making a ton of money, what's the complaint about? We're making money. But when the market when the market shifts like it has, we are the closest to pre-pandemic reality since the pandemic. And what's the problem with that is now people are like panicking. And then they're like, oh my God, what to do? And then they're undoing the layer. And this is like a domino effect because they're like, okay, my God, oh, not only are they screwed up on the leads, oh my God, the CRM's not set up correctly. Oh, my other tool's not set up correctly. Oh, my people are not training. It's chaos right now. So if you feel like this, if you are a dealer or a manager and you're feeling confused, you're feeling stressed, you don't understand why, well, don't worry. The guest that I'm about to bring after this break is phenomenal. So I've got an advertising expert that's been in the game. I mean, I think I've known him for about 20 years. This guy is phenomenal. Not only is he expert in advertising, but he also is pretty well dialed into artificial intelligence. So I think I'll be able to ask him all the right questions for you. So again, as soon as we come back, we're going to hear from my man, Troy Spring from Dealer World and Dealer Funnel. So let's take a couple minutes to pay these bills and we'll be right back.
If you're looking for the absolute best automotive sales training from the #1 millionaire car salesman in the world, Cody Carter, who sold 1,408 units in 2023 and made $1.2 million in personal income, make sure you sign up for Cody's 24/7 video on-demand training, tracking, and testing certification program, Sell Like Cody. That's right, Sell Like Cody is on Bradley On Demand. Cody covers absolutely everything in his successful selling process. If you want to learn how to sell more cars, more often, and more profitably, enroll now at bradleyondemand.com or contact Dealer Synergy today.
Thank you for calling Doing It Wrong Motors. How can I help you?
I was looking at the tan 2023 GMC Terrain. You guys still have that?
Oh, sorry. That vehicle's been sold.
Could this be happening at your dealership? Get the Dealer Synergy team to handle calls the right way. We'll gather all the information, drop it in the CRM, set a solid appointment with notes, so all you have to do is sell. Do yourself a favor and go to dealersynergy.com for a free demo.
And no more of this burning through phone-ups nonsense.
And we're back. Yeah, this is SVB, and the place to be is the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. And I got my man, Troy Spring. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We just talked about it. I'm getting a little older. I'm getting gray beard over here, but I'm looking good.
Yeah, that's trending from the last time I saw you.
I was
looking fresh, buddy. Man. Looking fresh.
I'm fresh to death. I'm trying to look good. You know what I mean? But man, so I want to just jump into it. Troy, can you just give our audience just a little bit of your background, like how long you've been in the automotive industry, and what would you say your supreme expertise is?
Yeah, so like 39 years. I sold my first car when I was 18. So it's really all I've ever done my entire life is the auto industry. I guess I just gave out my age, but you got the grays there too. So yeah, and now
wait. How old are you? Let me do the math.
I'm 57.
Brother, I've known you all this time. I didn't know you were 57.
Yeah, I work hard at it, so I'll take that.
You're making too much money. You're on that rich people diet, man. You're doing something because you look good for 57 for sure.
Listen, water. It's a secret to fountain of youth. But no, I've been doing it for a long time, and I think that gives you it gives me a little bit of a perspective that it's funny. You hear a guy say, "I've been doing this 20 years," and I always say, like, well, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. It matters if you're still good at it. 20 doesn't matter. 39 doesn't matter. But now I started just selling cars at 18 years old, quickly moved into management and F&I and running stores. So at the height of my retail career, I ran a 4-store group and, had 4 general managers and was a platform manager. 0809 came around. It was a wild time, as we all know. I started Dealer World. What I loved most about running stores was driving traffic. It's kind of like that King of Cars time, if you recall.
Absolutely.
And so I kind of ran stores that way. I just loved driving traffic, and I kind of quickly realized that's probably what I was best at. So I started Dealer World in 2009. Sit here now, 16 years later. We've grown every single year. And then 5 years ago or so, roughly right around 5 years ago, we just saw an opportunity where we still had clients, and no matter how much traffic you drove them, they still complained they weren't selling more cars. So, my partner, Jeffrey, and I decided that, less going to sell a car, let's just go down that rabbit hole a little bit more and try to nurture the lead along further to help make the dealer a little more successful and make their life a little easier. So that's how Dealer Funnel was born, was really out of a need to do a better job with the leads we were generating.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So question for you, what would you say has been the most significant evolution in the last 39 years in our industry?
You're going to probably laugh at this, and I'm hoping that everybody listening, listens to the end of our conversation, because there's a lot more to it than this. But I've never seen anything work better than direct mail, ever. Like there's a statement for you that'll, like, everybody watching expecting me to say AI or Google, because look, I mean, when I started, we were faxing in credit applications to get people approved, right? I remember the first time I saw Google in a circuit city. I was like, what is this thing? So, I started in a time where if it was slow on a Saturday, we sent the porter to go get the newspaper to see who was $500 less than us in the paper. So the advent of everything over the past 39 years, and I mean this genuinely, I spent a lot of years in direct mail. We still sell a lot of it at Dealer World. And here's how I would tell you that I'm right about this. All those years that super sales happened, what did they use? Guys are driving up to Maine from Louisiana on their own dime to get a hotel and pay their way and take 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 days away from their family. And what advertising medium did they count on? Always direct mail, never anything else. Facebook has made a bit of a run with Facebook events when you think about it.
Yeah.
But I'll go to my grave saying that I think nothing has ever worked as good as direct mail, and it still works to this day.
Brother, that's why I have you on the show. I can't wait to dive into it. So if I can, I want to hit different things. Let's start with the question in 2026, because we're about to go into 2026. One of the questions that a lot of my dealer principals, my dealer group clients are asking me is, Sean, what should I be investing in my marketing or advertising strategy for 2026 and why? So Troy, let's just pretend we're at one of the most powerful elite 20 groups for the most successful dealers in the country. And we're also in the 20 group with the least successful dealers in the country. All right. So I want two extremes.
Yeah.
Is the answer you're about to tell me universal, whether it's, if you are doing really well or you're struggling, or is it different, your marketing strategy, depending what situation you're in?
No, the strategy is going to be the same. However, I would say that probably the successful dealer is probably just doing more of the things that I would say to do, and that's going to start with the backyard and go out from there. I can't tell you how many. Look, I'm a big believer that the most expensive thing in America is ego. Right? Like, I think it costs men their sometimes their families, their businesses, a lot of money, whatever the case might be, and where I'm going with that is. It's interesting. We'll sit with a dealer and they'll say, well, I got to go after XYZ Ford down the street. I want to go after this guy. They're always trying to conquest and go after somebody instead of just protecting the backyard first. And conquest deals cost more money. They're far more risky. We just always try to talk somebody out of that until we have exhausted everything that we should be doing in the backyard with the database, as an example.
100%, brother. You know that I'm a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt, right? And in Jiu-Jitsu, it's so funny that you see all this stuff on TV, but Jiu-Jitsu is defensive first. I've trained with the Gracies. I own a company with Daniel Gracie. So I've trained with Hoist Gracie, Henzo Gracie, Daniel Gracie, etc. And defense is the number one strategy in Jiu-Jitsu. It's the same thing you're saying. I agree with you. Secure your PMA first.
Yeah, let's get a pump in, pump out report. And if it's off base, then, let's get to work. You got to protect that backyard first.
Troy, remember, we have different audience levels. I know what it is, but explain to everybody what is a pump in, pump out report. Let's go basic.
So, in your PMA, your primary market area, right, in primary area of responsibility, if more cars are being sold into your market from a competitor, that's a problem, right? So what you're looking for first and foremost is not how many you're robbing from someone else. It's how much you're protecting your own backyard and you're stopping the bleeding and the defection and the robbing of your own backyard.
100%, brother. Okay, now, all right, so here's where I think people get confused. Okay, NADA says that the average, and this is from 2025 data, is that the average cost per sale is supposedly in the mid 600s. NCM has a lower cost per sale. From your knowledge and all the data that you have at Dealer World, what would you say that the average cost per sale is nationally for franchise dealers?
Look, there's going to be a number that nobody's ever going to all agree on.
That's why I'm asking your opinion, though. I don't care about
400 or something like that. I think is pretty standard to talk about. But let me, if you don't mind, I want to expound upon that just a little bit.
Yeah, I want to talk about this too because
I think that average means nothing.
I agree.
It means nothing. So if I'm a dealer that is a small little tiny rural town Ford dealership, I'm a single point. I'm in a town of 7,000 people. I don't have radio stations. I don't have and again, I'm not trying to get all old school traditional here. We talk all sorts of digital and AI and all that stuff too. But look at the end of the day, that guy's cost per sale is going to be radically different than Route 1 Toyota. Where they got, 300,000 drive by a day and they're on the highway and they have the best franchise, out there. So that cost per sale, you're going to go, I could sit with the guy at the Toyota store and he'd probably kick me out for even talking about 400, right? Because they're just so, lack of a better term, spoiled, right? But at the same time, I might need to build a business model at a small rural Ford town at $800-900 a car because we're going to need to have the gross profit to support that. And you need to drive traffic to that store that doesn't get it naturally. So if you have to push deals into the store, the cost per sale is just going to be higher. It is what it is. So it's a difficult conversation to have because almost no dealer we ever sit with is average.
I don't disagree at all. Let me be specific. I agree with you. I want to pivot a little bit about the question. That's not what I was looking for.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but I love
the bouncing ball a little better, buddy.
No, it's okay. But here's what I'm saying is that I agree with everything you just said. Actually, I fully agree with what you say. But I want to try to educate our audience, and I want to talk about something on that question first. The problem with that number, I don't care what that number is, I still think it's incorrect because what dealers do, and I don't mean any disrespect to dealers, I call it dumb dealer math, DDM. Dumb dealer math. Because what happens is it's a lazy figure. All dealers do is they look at what they're spending. Sometimes they'll take out co-op or whatever, but they look at what they're spending and they're going to look at what their how many cars they sold, and they just divide it. But that's not an accurate number. So I wasn't asking what's the validity of the number. I'm more talking about how do you get to that number, because I just want to make sure we're all on the same page for the audience. In my opinion, it doesn't matter what store you are. If you're just spending X amount of dollars and you divide it by how many cars you sold, that doesn't give you the full picture, because all that is basically just dividing. You have to factor in that that's not a real number. Like that 400, that's assuming that 100% of your ad dollars resulted in 100% of your sales. But you got to look at, what about if people are local? What if you are a Toyota dealership and they're raging hot right now? What if you had somebody that's a repeat, customer? What if you have somebody that's an employee that bought a car there? What if somebody's car broke down and had no other choice? Whatever it is. So no matter what the number is, whatever dealers that just do the simple math, I think that they need to also pack into reality. Does that make sense what I'm trying to articulate?
No, listen, 100%. You're basically talking about the cost of blue sky deals.
Explain that. Explain what blue sky is to the audience.
And so I'm just going to break this down into three parts. One, I'll explain the blue sky deal. And then two, I'll explain why dealers use the NADA guidelines and how that affects them. And three, I'll explain what they should be doing, if that makes sense. And I think that'll answer what you're trying to do for the audience. So a blue sky deal just means, like, how many cars would you sell if you didn't advertise at all? You have blue sky of, the Ford or the Toyota or whatever franchise you have, the sign hanging, and you've got some road frontage, and you've got a dealership, and you've got a franchise. You're bound to sell some cars whether you advertise or not. So that's part one. Part two is, everybody goes to a 20 group meeting or NADA or looks up some guidelines or talks to their buddy. Like, God forbid, the Ford guy in the rural area talks to Route 1 Toyota and he tells you, I would never spend more than $300 a car. Like, okay, well, he just about ruined the Ford guy's life. So, because it's not the same equation. So wherever they're getting that number from, whether or not it's their buddy or a 20 group or NADA, they do what you just said. They multiply it out and they go, okay, well, I sell 49 cars a month, or 149 or 349. Doesn't matter the size. You get my point. You pick a number. Let's just use 100 for round numbers. I sell 100 cars a month, and I'm told, again, no matter where they get that number, I should not spend more than $350 a car. So they're at $35,000 in ad budget, hypothetically. Now, everybody thinks they can do it for less, so they're less than that. And that's where you kind of get in trouble, because it's an arbitrary number at that point in time. And to your point, now you have to ask yourself, how well is that $35,000 really working? And so the end of this conversation is, you have to look at how much are you spending per incremental sale. And that's the number I care far more about, because we're trying to scale dealerships. We're trying to move the needle to dealership. We're trying to take them from wherever they are to much more. So if the gross profit supports it, you could spend $1,000 average per car incrementally. I'm not saying that you sell 100 cars a month, you should spend $100,000. But I'm saying that it's a very valid argument and a good scalable business plan to say, hey, I spend $35,000 to sell 110 cars, hypothetically, at that 350 number. But if I want to go to 150, what's the net bottom line of the profit and profit loss statement in the financial statement say if I were to spend another $35,000 to do that? Quite frankly, you don't have to do it forever either. You can just buy the market for 12 or 18 months. there's going to be a lot of residual to that. But the net bottom line of most stores that are being super aggressive and looking at it incrementally that way are the stores that I find to be the most successful.
I love it. So watch me transition to this smoothly,
Yes,
like
go.
butter. All right. So one of the craziest things right now is this one of the dealer groups that I'm working with. Again, I don't want to mention any names because they're super amazing people. I have a problem, and again, you're more diplomatic than I am. I have my personality, it's my show, and I feel. And I'm going to channel the spirit of Jim Ziegler in this statement as the dealer advocate. It drives me crazy that there's so much misinformation and in Trump fake news out there. A lot of these vendors and the OEMs, I think, are giving bad information to dealers. They're telling dealers to choose certain vendors. And this next question here is going to be very relevant for someone like you and your marketing background. They're telling dealers to choose vendors for website, for search, for advertisement, for SEO, SEM, for social media ads, for whatever. And I think that a lot of those vendors, you can't serve both masters. You cannot be a boutique, bespoke agency and mass produce like White Castles. You can't serve Ford or GM that's got 3 to 4,000 rooftops apiece and care and be able to create a product for one individual store the right way. Let's start with that. Do you agree or disagree with that thought?
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, even though we've grown every single year, we're lucky that there's a dealer base out there that appreciates that, kind of boutiqueness, so to speak, because we're not in any OEM programs. I've actually gone to my team one every now and then and said, hey, do you think we ought to try to get into a program? It'd just be easier, right? They click, and next thing you know, we're signed up and we're making more money. And my team's always just said, don't do it. It'll change fundamentally who we are. And so, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying.
So now, folks, listen to this. You just heard of a man that's been in this business for a lot of decades. You know what I'm saying? And again, he has the ability. I'm gonna tell you right now to be able to do an OEM deal and make a ton of money or what have you. But not all money is good money. Not if you are passionate about this. Not if you love this industry and you love every part of it. It's not the right thing. And that's why you're on the show because I really respect you, brother, on your integrity and your passion. We've got mutual clients. Like I'm talking about like some hard hitting, high level, national
Yeah.
recognized, clients, and your reputation, precedes you. So now the next thing on this is here's what I found. I have a dealer group. They've got, let's just say, about 6 stores. And they were told by the OEM to use a certain vendor for website and a certain vendor for like SEO, SEM, things like that. And they're spending like 70 grand a month on like a splash page. And they're generating like 320 leads in a month out of literally like that much money. So I'm
Right.
gonna do some quick math. So just so everybody is not quick at math, like I'm using a calculator, but if you take $70,000 and divide that by 320 leads, you're averaging $218.75 per lead. Now you're a professional marketer. You own like a national ad agency, among other things. In your entire almost 40-year career, has it ever made sense to spend $218 on a lead?
No.
Okay. So here's the problem. When I look at this for me, I'm like, this is simple. Like, you don't just walk into traffic. Like we know that, even blind people can feel the car is going really fast. Like LA doesn't run over like Frogger. I mean, like it's some
Yeah.
stuff is, and I ask them why. Well, they say, because my OEM says so. And let's talk about this. I'm not mentioning any OEMs because I have an OEM contract and my OEM that's there is great. It's the best one ever. You know what I mean? So I'm only kidding. But think about that. How do you tell a dealer that spends all this money in their whole life with a franchise, and the franchise is giving them information that definitely is good for the OEM, but it's not good for the dealer. And when we try to tell them, hey, look, there's other ways to do this, they're like, but my OEM said, what's your response? I'm sure you get that all the time.
Yeah, no, we get it all the time. And so I would just simply go to, I'm going to use the word linear. So if you have a linear vendor, And that linear vendor happens to be, let's just use paid search as an example. So OEM says you need to use one of these 3 paid search people. What happens if sales are down or you're just not getting enough out? What is the paid search vendor going to say to said dealer? Well, all I can think about is we should spend more. So, as an example, fine and dandy if you're just going to buy more and more impression share, right? As an example, but there becomes a point of diminishing return. And then the bigger problem in that particular vertical is that it's very dependent on shopper intent. So as an example, just using paid search as one example, we could talk about this all day long in every other vertical and every other example, but just as one example is, I don't want to have a conversation with a linear vendor about how I'm not selling enough cars and all they can think about is I need to spend more money. So what we've tried to do, and this isn't a plug for Dealer World or anything, it's just, look, dealers, if you're listening, find somebody who thinks like I think, no matter who it is, right? But you've got to be with a vendor, I believe wholeheartedly, that A, is a partner to the dealer, is flat fee, so that they don't have any vested interest in any particular vertical or advertising, or campaigns, and can make adjustments to the budget based upon that one particular dealer, where you be on a call with the OEM vendor and they say, all I can think of is you should spend more. We spent $12,000 last month. Let's spend $18,000 this month. Versus being on with somebody who's less holistic or more holistic and less linear that can say, hey, you know what? Honestly, if your whole entire budget's $18,000, I don't even think we're going to do any paid search. And here's why. Right? You have to be with someone who can think holistically, because if you're on with linear OEM vendors, you're just gonna get told why you should continue to do more and more and more of what it is that they sell. And that's just fact. It is what it is. That's with anybody, actually, quite frankly, that gets paid a commission on those things. So if you're paying 15, 20, 30% commission on those things, of course the answer is going to be spend more.
The dealer that I'm talking about, the dealer group I'm talking about, the OEM recommendations they were charging all this money plus a 20% management fee for PPC and a 20% management fee for social ads. It's crazy. So
just
listen,
for the record, I'll go on line and tell you this again. Dealers, look for this. We spend millions and millions of dollars on Google and Facebook, and we do not take one penny of a percentage of that money. It's
Repeat
a flat
that again?
fee to do the work for the dealer that is a fair and honest member to do the work for them. If they're spending, why should we make $20,000 a month on $100,000 spend? Honestly, it's not fair to the dealer. It just isn't.
Well, again, brother, that's why you're on the show. Do you get what I'm saying? Because we think alike. Our values are alike and our logic is alike. Now, I want to say this. We're about to take another break. Before we do, I want to let you know this is what we specialize in. So if anybody out there is struggling and they're having some concerns, hey, am I spending the right amount of money? Do I have the right vendors? All you got to do is just let us know, and me or Troy would be more than happy to do a marketing audit and marketing ROI audit. Would you agree, Troy?
100%.
All right, so let's pay.
Happy to help anybody who has questions.
Let's pay these bills. We'll be right back.
This has been the most in-depth training I've had in my lot of years in the car business.
We went from 60 cars to 156 cars a month in 3 months.
NAMAD, the entire Toyota Chicago region, as well as the top automotive groups like Koons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their team.
They're the most comprehensive training company I've seen, and they by far have the best support system.
Doing 50 cars a month, topped out at 80. I can tell you that the Bradley On Demand training will get you to the next level.
And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand. If you're still not enrolled in Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on the best virtual automotive training in the world. Enroll now or contact us for a free test drive of the platform today.
Hey everybody, this is SVB, and the place to be is the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast with my man Troy Spring from Dealer World and Dealer Funnel. So we were just, discussing. I said disgusting. It was a Freudian slip.
I didn't know if you were going to stop yourself or not.
No. It's disgusting. We're discussing the disgusting, tactics that some of these vendors have. Now, here's the next thing that really, because I really love this dealer group that I'm working with. They're really good people. I'm talking about Troy Goodhart. They're good people.
Listen, there's a lot of good ones out there.
I mean, I'll talk to you offline. What they've done is been recognized internationally, on national news type stuff.
Very cool.
So they're good human beings. And so they have because they're a dealer group, they have a marketing team, 2 or 3 people on the marketing team, and they have all these GMs. And the next thing is this: the people in the marketing department that are running a multi-million-dollar ad budget have no skills, no training. They're not AdWords certified. They're not, Google Analytics certified. And so these vendors are ninjas. They're ninjas. They're samurais. They're gunslingers. What do you want to talk? They're rebuttal people. So when they try to ask questions to stand them up, they just dazzle them with bullshit. And it's my show, so I could curse. You feel free if you want to too. But they dazzle them with bullshit. And they're talking about VDPs and SRPs and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute here. If whoever is going to be liaisoning with the ad sources, the ad vendors should have some type of skill. So my question to you is, especially for a dealer group, right? And you have a marketing team, can you go through, in your opinion, what is the minimum requirements of knowledge that you should have to be in a position to be a marketing or advertising manager inside a dealership, a dealer group?
Okay, first and foremost, they probably should have sold cars. And here's why.
Ooh, I love it.
And here's why. Because our industry, is not Shopify. We're not just selling widgets on Facebook, as an example. If you truly don't understand the consumer expectations, their behaviors, what they want, how they act, again, you could get away without being in retail automotive to some extent. But it's funny. I'll break stride here just for a second, Sean. But it's funny how sometimes I forget to lead with that I'm a car guy. And then I'll get to the end of talking to a dealer and he goes, dude, you should have led with that. Because having some retail experience, I really do think matters. Secondarily, you're right. Are you certified at Facebook? Are you AdWords certified? Have you taken any kind of, courses or classes on basic SEO? Do you even understand right now, what's going on with Chat GPT and the GEO, so to speak. But more importantly, that's probably not realistic, right? So chatting a little bit more about what's realistic would be, and this is kind of full circle to the rest of our conversation. We've got some dealers that we work with that say, hey, I'm going to use the paid search vendor that the OEM has because it saves us a couple of bucks. But they still have us. And so guess who sits on the call to make sure that the OEM vendor is not, as you said, bullshitting them and just telling them how wonderful things are and spitting out, analytics that the marketing manager may or may not truly understand. So a lot of times we're sitting on these calls just making sure that these kind of cookie cutter programs that are set it and forget it are not cookie cutter programs, set it and forget it, making sure that the dealer is really getting a solidly run ROI driven campaign.
Let me just jump in real quick because I got to tell you, I'm super impressed that you said that. I think that most dealers don't think that. And I think that's what's hurting them is because they're thinking that, marketing is different. You don't need to have that sales skill. But I think what makes you so good in your role is that you are a car guy. I think what makes me so good as a consultant is that I've spent so much time on the sales side and the management side. Yeah. But when I write an international best-selling book like Win the Game with Googleopoly or what have you, I have the perspective as an automotive professional. Sorry to interject, but I just wanted to just say.
No, you're good. Hey, listen, I'll ask you this question. This will answer the question. Do you know what it feels like to be on a sales floor on a Saturday afternoon with no traffic?
Oh, yes,
It sucks.
it does.
And I know that feeling. And so what we try real hard to do, I've got some clients that occasionally, you know, they'll send me a picture. And this is me being honest. Like, dude, where's my traffic? There's nobody on my showroom floor. It's 2:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday. I take that to heart because I understand exactly how that feels. It sucks. So I do think it helps to have a little bit of retail experience, a little bit of empathy for what it's like. And again, you also have to understand, I think, the difference between, you know, metrics and analytics and Google Analytics and what it's like to be on the showroom floor and be looking in the CRM to see where the leads are.
Let's go into that right there. I agree with the first part of this 100%, but I want to also, as far as the technical, knowledge, it didn't cost money. Like there's a lot of free certifications that Google or, like Meta, like the major companies are able to provide. I mean, like OpenAI, I mean, there's so much free education and free certification, whether it's, again, the keyword forensics, the Google keyword, tracking tools. I mean, there's so many different things that someone should be, knowledgeable. Do you have a checklist? Have you ever created a checklist? Oh, like you sold cars, how you have a deal jacket or a stip sheet? Like if I want to put a subprime deal together, I got a stip sheet. So if I'm going to put a marketing manager together, do you have a recommended as far as profile of not only experience or knowledge, but more importantly, what skills or certification? And they might not have it when you hire them, which is okay. But once they are hired, they should be put into their project plan as ongoing continued education. You could be working in the dealership, but you should be trying to go get your Google Analytics certification, your Google AdWords certification, and so forth. Do you have a checklist of what you recommend that these type of people's?
No, to be very blunt, no, we do not.
Can we create one together? Can we just post it?
Listen, I was just going to say, I think it's really smart because we do stand on the side of educating dealers. There's been a lot of times we've been with dealers where we sit with them and they go, man, it's my fault. I don't know anything about this stuff. Like, I've been buying AdWords for 14 years. I don't understand it. And so a lot of times we'll just tell them, like, it's up to you if you want to go along for the journey. But if you want to be on all the calls and you want to ask deep questions and you want to get educated, we'll educate you along the way. We're not looking to just take the dealer's money and tell them how great things are. Because look, at the end of the day, it's not always great. Right now, the market's tough. My phone rings. You want to be honest? Talk to anybody in advertising and marketing right now, and if they tell you everything is effing wonderful, they're full of shit. Like, the phone rings because when the market's down and shopper intent's down, you got to push harder. That's when our phone rings.
Mine too. I'm a trainer. That's what they call us.
Yeah. On the other end of the line that says, I know exactly what to do. Just do what I tell you.
Exactly. But the bottom line is you agree that if there is somebody in the dealership, they need to be bullshit proof. They need to know what to inspect, and how to hold their vendors accountable. And I think, if dealers don't think about this, but if dealers are struggling, right? If dealers are having problems with HR and employees and things like that, like you don't think these vendors are? Do you not think that? And that's the thing that people don't think. Like dealers think that vendors are in a different category. No, they're just like your dealerships. You'll be shocked at how much. Like I've been doing this not as long as you, but for 28 years, right? So I'm pushing almost 30 years in the industry now. And one thing I would tell you for almost my whole 30 years in this, right? It's control chaos because we're in a month-to-month business. That's the other dynamic that's very different because in normal corporations, they're quarterly driven. And in math, you need 3 freaking months to be able to form a pattern to be able, see, brother, this is why so I want you to speak about that. Dealers fucking pull the trigger and they make stupid decisions. They unwind stuff because of emotion and because they're in a month-to-month grind. Can you elaborate on that? Because I think I struck a nerve right there.
Yeah, no, listen, I got hot about like 44 seconds ago. And I want to just tell you a story. I think stories are good here, and I think it's very relevant to what you're asking me to explain.
Yes.
So a few years back, we had a dealer, and I won't mention companies or dealers either. Just I remember this like yesterday. This happened. We had a client who was getting courted by another agency. They were a dear client. They were like, listen, I got a deck from these guys. I think you're missing this. I think you're missing that. Oh my gosh, these guys are so bright. It's unbelievable. I need you to get on a call with me, right? So long story short, we did hop on a call with these guys, and they did this like magic show, right? Don't you think that you should be like, you be the dealer, right, Sean?
Mm-hmm.
And say you're a Toyota dealer. Don't you think you should be showing up for, off-lease Tacoma deals, right? As an example, as a keyword search. And the dealer's like, oh my gosh, yeah, well, are you telling me we don't show up for that? And meanwhile, we're sitting there looking at the national search volume going, and I'm texting my buddy going, 10 people a month search that term. Like, you really want us spending time on that shit? So my whole point to this story is the pitch decks of some of the best marketing agencies in the country right now are unbelievably good because they know exactly where the pain points are. They know exactly how to expose another agency and or the internal marketing team. But that is only, to your point, if the dealer is uneducated to not know what to ask and what questions to ask. How many times are they doing this presentation saying, don't you think you should show up for whatever? And the search volume nationally, never mind locally, is 13 people a month search that term. Like, that's a God's honest truth of what happened. And so we were able to stave off that. But remember what I said. A Saturday morning about 10 o'clock, the dealer called me and said, I just got off a 200-page deck deal from this company, and I got questions for you guys. I'm like, okay, shoot them at me. But if you don't have a dealer that's willing to slow down and actually listen to a true partner, they're going to do what you just said. They're going to chase the chrome-plated shiny squirrel. They're going to cancel and sign. And I'll go one further if you don't mind, because now you got.
I know you. I had an emotion. I'm right there with you. Speak, brother. Speak.
Like, when we sign a deal, they'll say, "Don't you? Maybe we should change website companies." I'm like, why? Like, yes, some website companies are better than others, right? Let's just face it. But NADA is coming up in a few months, right? And so, or soon. So what's going to happen? Let me paint a picture for the dealer. If you're listening to anything I say at all today, listen to this one thing. Go to NADA and walk by, i.e. Dealer Inspire's booth and Dealer On's booth. And what you'll find is there's a bunch of people and by the way, I'm just using them as examples, poster children, for no other reason than to give this story a little bit of color. Yeah. But any two website companies, because I'm not picking on anybody. Website company A is going to have a bunch of people in the booth saying that website company B sucks, and that's why I'm here to talk to you guys, because I'm switching website companies this year. And over in the exact other booth in B, they're saying, hey, you know what? Website company A sucks, and that's why I'm sitting here in your booth talking to you. It's just an incestuous, wild, weird deal that we do. It happens with chat companies. It happens with CRM companies. It happens with ad agent. It happens with everybody. We need to stop just being reactive and making decisions based on those emotions and dig deep into the vendors and the partners that we currently have and make the most of them. Now, look, at some point, somebody's going to deserve to get fired. I get it. But we just make changes like this for fun. And no better
emotion. Yes. So
does that make sense? Did I articulate that right?
100%. Yeah. All right, I'm going to redirect the conversation.
All right, I started yelling. My bad.
No. I love it. No. I want to, because the energy, I love this. I want to go into one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah.
I don't believe that all the information that vendors give is righteous. I think some of it is self-serving because they have a product or service they need to sell.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that they're all lying, but I will say that they're framing the advice a certain way. I'll give you an example. So when I'm looking at that dealer group that's spending $70,000 on their digital advertisement, okay? And no, strike that, not on their digital advertisement, just on their website and things supporting the website. I'm not talking about third-party providers. I'm not talking about online classifieds. I'm literally talking about specifically the website, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, social media advertisement, any OTT, any retargeting, any APIs on the website that generate traffic, etc. And so, when I look at that, I ask them why. And then they're like, what do you mean? Because my OEM said to, and because my manager said to, and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, let's break this down. And then I ask them, how much are you spending on your website versus this? And then you know what a lot of them say? I don't really know because I'm spending like $4,000 and they bundle it in. And I'm telling you, you're getting suckered with this bundle. They're bundling shit in. I'm not saying they're purposely trying to confuse you. They're making it seem like they're doing you a favor. A lot of these companies, think about it, pay attention, unplug from the freaking matrix. What's happening is they are acquiring these multi-gazillion dollar, billion-dollar companies are buying all these companies. They are bundling, packaging them to you for your convenience, but it's hiding the mediocrity. Let me explain. Because if you're spending, let's say $7,500, for example, on your website, what you should know is, to your point with the blue sky analogy on theirs, what is your core website cost? Okay, if that's $9.99, what is, metaphorically speaking, the blue sky on that? Meaning, how many leads should be generated off of just the core website? Okay, we have that there. Then, okay, if I was going to invest in search engine optimization, which we should, by the way, okay, what's that cost? And if I did that, what would the net lift be in opportunities? Then, okay, if I'm going to do a PPC budget, what does that cost? And what's the estimated net lift in opportunities? And then same thing. The APIs, what is that going to cost? And what's the net lift in opportunities or the net closing ratio net lift? You should be able to justify each one of these things, because why are you spending $7,500 if only 2,000 or 2,800 is actually valuable? The other stuff is just shit that's packaged in. Troy, do you understand what I'm talking about? And can you translate and articulate in your ninja dealer world way?
Yeah, I'm going to even back up and give you one more, thing that's going to blow your mind, I think, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, you're right. I've got some clients that have told me, they check the boxes, right? I check the box, I got an SEO company. I check the box, I got a paid search company. I check the box, I got a social company. I check the box, right? I got chat, I got a trade tool, I got whatever. So one of the boxes that never gets checked, and I'm extremely kind of passionate about, is website optimization. So, and again, this is one of my point of, like, maybe you don't need to change websites. Maybe you just need somebody to actually work on it, because you have this black hole of wonder that happens. And believe me, I am answering your question, I think. But as in the ninja dealer world way, as you asked for. So you've got an ad agency, hypothetically. Their job is to push traffic. So you get on a call with them and they go, oh my gosh, look, all our metrics and analytics are up. This is up and that's up and this is up and that's up. And what's the dealer say? But I didn't sell any more cars. I didn't get any more leads, but all the traffic is up. And so agency then blames the website for not performing. So then the dealer goes shopping for a website, because the website companies, because they're in OEM programs, watch all this come around, they got to be at $6.99 a month or some crazy number, right, to be in an OEM program. And other people get a portion of that money too. And so you're not really left with a phone call every week from a performance manager for your website that tells you that your current trade tool hasn't generated a lead in 3 weeks. And that, I think on this particular page for your finance application, we should have a video explaining the safety of applying online with us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where am I going with this? Well, if your website is currently not providing you with a 3 or 4% conversion rate of all traffic, then it's not set up to convert to leads. So you'll have a guy that's got a website converting at 1%. And this is kind of what you're just talking about with that other dealer as an example, right? Like all this money being spent, probably their website traffic's really good because a lot of money is being spent to send traffic to the sites, but they're not getting a lot of leads because the conversion points aren't set up properly. So why go spend a whole bunch of money on paid search or paid social or anything to drive traffic to the site unless it's set up to catch the fish in the first place? So if it's not set up to catch the leads, if it's not set up to convert at a high rate, do that first. Because if you get, say, 30,000 visitors a month to your site and you increase the conversion rate on site 1%, it's 300 more leads a month for $0. Because because what you did was you looked at the site and said, as an example, my trade tool that I got bundled in by XYZ third party that gave me a trade tool, so I don't have a bill for a trade tool anymore. And guess what else you don't have? Leads. So if you take a look at that and you go, hey, I've got a bundled product that's not performing, is it really worth it? It's not really worth it. I would say go back, as using trade tools as an example, go back to the trade tool that might cost you $5.99 a month, but get you 80 leads a month. So it's really just about the dealer paying it. And this is your point, Sean. There are so many things to be educated on and to understand and to look at and to draw lines. It's a chess match. It's not just advertising. All this stuff, go back to what I said, protect the backyard first. So when a dealer comes to us and says, hey, what should I spend money on? One of the first questions I ask is, when's the last time you sent a hard copy piece of mail to your database? Because quite frankly, you hold it in such high regard. You'll say, I only sold 12 cars the last time I did one. Only? So you had a 340% ROI, but it's not good enough anymore because back when mail was unbelievably successful, you got 700%. So now we look at it and go, oh, that shit doesn't work anymore. But instead of doing that, we go out and try to conquest something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's just so much for a dealer to pay attention to. That is the checklist that we have internally with our performance managers.
So let's go through that
They work from database and protecting the backyard out.
So let's do this way. If I was a dealer principal of Bradley Automotive, right? That's a nice ring to it. Troy.
It does.
See Jonathan Dawson out there with being a dealer principal, going to Abu Dhabi. Shout out to Jonathan.
Yeah, that was a cool trip, huh?
That was definitely a cool trip.
Very cool trip.
Yes, sir. So listen, if I'm the dealer principal of Bradley Automotive and I'm talking to you as the principal of Dealer World, and I'm saying, Troy, I've got this woman who's my chief marketing officer. Her name is Tiana, and I want to get her trained to be the best marketing manager for my dealership. And what that means to me is I want her to be able to assist me with the website decision. Like obviously she's not going to design the website, but she's going to have to liaison with the website provider. And that's also going to have some knowledge about search engine optimization, pay per click, maybe some social media ads, and then these APIs and whatever. And I don't know what I don't know. I'm playing the role of a dealer. So in your opinion, what should she know to be in that position? She's actually sold cars for over 3 years. She's a beast, with social media. She's great. That's why we're promoting her to the marketing manager. But if you just give me, I don't need the curriculum. I just need an outline. And I'm going to write this down right now. So yeah. Mr. Troy, how do I train her? Not how, but what does she need to learn? And then the next question is going to be, then where do we get that information from? But let's start with what is the information that she needs to know and be able to have?
I think because it's such a loaded question, I would go to the basics and the very basics. And the very basics are, what is the ROI of the dollars that you're spending? So now, and this is a difficult one too, because I just wrote an article saying that the number one KPI of all dealerships is how many cars did you sell? Right. And in a particular market, that marketing manager needs to know whether or not you are in a good radio market, as an example. Because if you're listening to this and you're a dealer and you're in a 150th to 250th ranked in Nielsen, market, which would be, look, LA, Chicago, New York, they're 1, 2, 3, right? You get the Philadelphias of the world. They're not places where I would ever ask somebody to spend money on radio. But you get into a town that is ranked 175 and has their own radio stations, and you can absolutely dominate and own those stations for X amount of dollars a month. I can tell you that if you put really great creative on there, inspiring creative that pushes somebody through the door, then that's a town where digital is going to take not a backseat, but it's going to take a dual role with some traditional media. You may now then go, all right, Troy, I'm in Chicago. What do they need to know if they're in Chicago? Well, that you're not going to be on radio because it's ridiculously expensive, right? And so OTT, there's a great land, but then what do you need to know about OTT? You need to know the frequency.
Explain what that is to everybody.
Yeah, OTT is, over the top. It's streaming television. It's the Hulus of the world, where you're. And here's the beauty of that. If you really want, here's another one to write down, guys. If you're doing and we do a lot of OTT with our clients because I'm a very big fan. And here's the reason I'm a fan. And this is what your marketing manager would need to understand and know. They're not both television, right? You got broadcast, which is the news. If you're on every single morning at 6 a.m., you're going to catch a 65-year-old guy. Is he your audience? I don't know. So cable, super fragmented, very difficult to get frequency. And so I'll time out there for a second and tell you that every single ad, if you're going to write anything else down here today, write this one down. The 4 pillars of every ad that you ever run: reach, frequency, cost, and creative. So how many people does the ad reach? How often and frequent do they hear the ad? How inspiring is the creative and what is the messaging? And how much does it cost? And so I'll prove to you that every ad is worth doing if you have those 4 pillars in place. Mr. Bradley at Bradley Motors, I think we should do the back page of the newspaper every single day. And you're going to tell me, absolutely not. Newspaper's dead. I'm like, yeah, but we could buy it for $10 a day. So watch me, right? Every ad is worth doing if the pillars are in place. So if you have reach, and I got 17,000 people that get the paper every day, and I have frequency, I'm in there every single day. I have creative, which is inspiring, and I'm on the back page in color with $99 down, whatever the case might be for my store, with a really compelling message. The only other pillar, the only reason not to do newspaper is because they want $500 a day to do it, and it just doesn't make sense. Every ad is worth doing if you have reach, frequency, cost, and creative if they're in play. And so the marketing manager needs to look at every single one of the mediums that you're doing that same way. And you could say, but Troy, old Troy, gray-haired Troy, reach, frequency, isn't that radio, television? Facebook is reach and frequency. They track reach and frequency. So it's a matter of how much you do there. Is that kind of making some sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and here's another one too that I would tell you. If you're doing Facebook, don't just judge it by leads. Facebook is a traditional media these days. That's why they track reach and frequency. If you've got a really, really strong message out there and you're reaching a ton of people, say 300,000 people, and you're reaching them 5-6 times a week, the reach and the frequency is great. The cost is going to be reasonable because it's social. The question is always going to be, is the creative and the campaign strong enough to drive traffic? It's almost always boils down to creative and campaign.
Brother, I'm telling you, I am absolutely loving this conversation. Troy, what I want to be able to do is this: let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. How can they get a hold of you at Dealer World? And again, if you could reiterate the offer of a free strategy session for them.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to just chat with me and get a free strategy session, maybe a bit of a deep dive audit into analytics and just kind of see what you're doing, but it's really not an analytics audit, Sean. That's what we just talked about. It's a holistic audit of what are you spending your money on, and are you working outward in or inward out? Best way to reach me, you could go to our website. We use Dealer Funnel on our website. So if you become a lead on Dealer World's website, www.mydealerworld.com, we'll reach back out to you, through our platform, a Dealer Funnel platform. But more importantly, just dial me or text me 610-570-3022. That is my personal cell. I don't care about giving it out. I'm here to help people. So if you have any questions or you just want it, you're listening to this, 610-570-3022. Text me your name, your story, your number, and we'll chat. And obviously, you can find me on any socials. I've been posting a lot about some of these strategies on LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. But just text me or go to the website and submit a lead form.
Well, Troy, first of all, thank you so much for being on the show. And I want more. I had so much more I wanted to ask, but just out of respect to your time or have you, we're definitely going to have a part 2. But for everybody listening, you've been rocking with Sean V. Bradley, CSP, and my man, Troy Spring from Dealer World and Dealer Funnel. Thank you all. And again, have a
Let me
blessed
just
day.
quickly say thank you. This was fun. I love passionately speaking about what I do all day long, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it with your audience.
Brother, it's an honor to have you on the show, and we're going to have you back.
Amen, buddy.
Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. If you liked it, you're gonna love Bradley On Demand. Bradley On Demand is the most advanced virtual training, tracking, testing, and certification platform. What does that mean? It's an online university. And if you like this information here, we have hundreds and hundreds of advanced videos, step by step, on how to help you sell more cars more often and more profitably, so sign up now.